Chapter 2, Modesty. The desire of knowledge is natural to every man, but what advantage is it to be knowing, if that knowledge be not seasoned with virtue and religion? The vilest peasant and he whom we in scorn think least removed from a brute, if he serve God according to the best of his mean capacity, is yet a better and more valuable man than the proudest philosopher who busies himself in considering the motions of the heavens, but bestows no reflection at all upon those of his own mind. The certain consequence of knowing man's self truly is a mean opinion of himself, and not being exalted with the condemnations of other people. And supposing my knowledge so vast and extensive that nothing this world contains were hid from it, yet what would all this avail me in the sight of God, who, when he comes to judgment, will try me upon the issue, not of what I have known, but what I have done? Restrain that extreme desire of increasing learning, which is at the same time does but increase sorrow, by involving the mind in much perplexity and false delusion. For such are fond of being thought men of wisdom and respected as such. And yet this boasted learning of theirs consists in many things which a man's mind is very little, if at all, the better for the knowledge of. And sure, whatever they may think of the matter, he who bestows his time and pains upon things that are of no service for promoting the happiness of his soul ought by no means to be esteemed a wise man. Words and notions give no inward satisfaction, but a virtuous life never fails to comfort and refresh the mind, and to minister the best antidote against all manner of difficulties. For such is a good conscience and a well-grounded confidence towards God, which is its inseparable attendant. The more a man knows, and the better those subjects are upon which his studies have been employed, the heavier shall his account be, unless his piety and virtue be proportionally eminent and exemplary. So little reason have we to be exalted with our attainments, and not rather to fear more, as we improve more in knowledge. And what improvements indeed can possibly be so great as to justify our being proud of them? For no man can ever want this mortification of his vanity, that what he knows is but a very little in comparison of what he still continues ignorant of. Considering this, and instead of boasting of thy knowledge of a few things, confess and be out of countenance for the many more which thou dost not understand. And why so forward to prefer thyself before others, when there are so many persons whose learning and skill in the rules of living give them an undoubted right to be preferred before you? If you would attain to useful learning indeed, learn to conceal your attainments, and be content that the world should think meanly of you. For lowliness of mind, and not thinking of a man's self more highly than he ought to think, is the most difficult, but withal the most profitable lesson. And the preferring others before ourselves is a point of true wisdom and high perfection. Nor ought our opinions of this kind to be changed, though we should see another guilty of some erroneous folly, or very grievous wickedness, since we ourselves are men of like passions and frailties. Nor can we tell how long our own virtue may continue unshaken. Remember, then, that infirmities are common to all mankind, and so remember it as to persuade yourself, or at least to suspect, that these are dealt to thee in as plentiful a measure as to any other person whatsoever.